All right, good afternoon. It's afternoon here. Good morning if you're where Penny lives. Welcome to another BC Sandpile. Start off with a little bit of news. So there are no updates on the BC App Store this week. That's all right. On the BC Academy coming this week, Scott Scheffer has done a tutorial called Business Hours Personalization Widget. And he says our latest widget allows you to enter business hours into a web app. And then based on the current day and time, it lets visitors know if your business is open or closed with the ability to display custom content or personalized message, which is kind of cool. On BC Gurus, there's a tutorial release that I actually did it called Fancy Layouts. And I'm just going to share my screen with you. There it is. So the gist of it is these are layouts that are achieved just with some CSS, maybe a little bit of absolute positioning, not a whole bunch, but just CSS and HTML. And they're responsive. So this is a timeline-based view. This big green is actually, it's a div that's got a background color of green. This is a div with a background color of blue with a border radius on it. And when you get smaller, things adjust. That's layout one. That's pretty cool. I did 5 layouts. This is kind of a stepping deal. And as you get smaller, you see the steps drop. There's a little bit of foundation in there. And then this arrow was actually an icon, just like a font awesome icon, which is, I think is pretty cool. Layout 3, this double bar here is just another div with a thick border. And then as the colors change, there's border right and border left are not turned on necessarily for this specific div, but as you can see, it gets smaller and it adapts. And lets the content show what the client wants the customer to see. Nice little round chart here. And when you get to this, it starts to snap into some different layouts. So the whole point is adjusting your layout so that it shows the best on whatever device your end client is looking at. So same thing on the big screen, you get this view. As you get smaller, it steps down into this view. Still delivers the information the same way, or the same information, but it's delivered in a slightly different way that hopefully makes more sense for the end client. And then on the App Store, actually, I said there was no updates, but I did notice code production, and I will put a link to this in the chat here. Did a little teaser for an app that they're building, and I originally thought it was just going to be for their own templates, but it looks like they're releasing an app that this can be applied to your own sites and allows you a different editing experience. So I encourage you to go watch this teaser video. And I don't know exactly when that's going to be released, but hopefully it'll be soon. And it looks like a bit of a game changer as far as site editing goes. And that is the news. So this week we're talking about, we're going to just run a little bit of a think tank about social sharing with BC. Now in the interest of full disclosure, I'm not really into social media, social sharing. I don't do anything on Facebook beyond admin for a couple of pages. I have a LinkedIn profile and I do take connection requests there, but I'm not really actively adding content to it. And I'm also not really interested in Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram or any of that. So beyond the technical aspects of connecting social sharing to a client website, I'm not really interested. I don't know if I'm in the minority, the majority. I suspect I'm in the minority. Maybe it's an age thing, but I just have no time for it and no real interest in it. But hopefully through discussing it here, we can help others in the community figure out what they can do, what they want to do, and maybe do a better job of their social sharing. That's my intent here. So feel free, if you have an opinion or some information or something to say, just grab the mic there and jump in anytime. I've got a few notes here to maybe stimulate some conversation. But the first one overall is, does anybody want to volunteer what they're doing for social sharing in their own agency? So I personally am not doing anything. I'm not pushing blog posts out to any medium, Facebook, LinkedIn, or otherwise. I'm not personally doing anything with with my own agency. I know Chicago Digital has some levels of social sharing that they're doing, but I wonder in general, what are folks doing? All right, some crickets. And if not that, then what are you suggesting your clients use it for? No, there we go. Barbara says, I use Facebook and Twitter a bit. James hard codes his stuff. I was going to get to that a bit later, but yeah. He's got some snippets there he's shared, which is great. I'm assuming they're a lot cleaner than some of the stuff you can get from the actual social sites, which is good. Barbara uses add this. James says he tries to rely on no external JavaScript widgets. Yeah, they can be a bit bloated and can certainly cause some issues. So Mary does a bit of everything. She believes that the best for SEO is a Google Plus business account. I have my suspicions about that because it is Google. You think that perhaps Google maybe has a bit of a bias towards that? Yeah, James has shared a couple of valuable links there. So I'm going to copy those and put them in my notes here, and I'll include them in the document at the end, because not everybody can get to these links. And they're implementing, the government committed to implement all the recommendations, and they've set up a new agency called the Victorian Agency for Recruitment, which is committed to publishing this information. They're getting their own together. They've started doing all the publication already, and they're committed to publishing it, putting in the public domain. And New South Wales is doing. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, James. So there's some examples of code they're actually using. So the states are sort of committed. We're trying to give them a bit of throttle on. He's getting the share count from add this, but have full control of the styling, which is good. Yeah, add this can be, when it's just added as it is, it can be a little tough to style. Yeah, I have to agree with you, Marriott. I'm not sure how many people are actually using Google Plus as a social platform, but Google seems to love it. So you almost are obliged to set up an account. James has indicated they've had issues with add this changing something on their end and it breaking their sites. So he's got a trimmed back version that he has more control of. So when you're speaking to your clients, what are you suggesting they do for social sharing? So I would typically try and convince my clients to write some decent blog posts. I've had mixed results with that. Mostly they'll do 5 or 6 and then that's the end of it. I've got a few that do it on a regular basis, and they're certainly seeing the results as far as traffic back to their page goes. And from there, it depends on how much they're pushing that content out. So if they write a post, are they then pushing it out to their social channels? But when you're talking to your clients about a plan for social sharing, how does that go? First of all, you choose great confidentiality, efficient name. For rare complications, it might be identifiable. The media report is there. The adverse media. Pricing is already some jurisdictions. Yeah, I have to agree, Barbara. Most clients aren't real interested in writing blog posts. I've come close to contracting with something like I think it's called Blog Mutt. I think they're out of somewhere out of California there. I have experimented with some offshore writing, and I've been disappointed with it. It was fairly circular, and I didn't feel it did get us some traffic, but it didn't do much in the way of conversions because the content itself was, they would jump on, and then you could see people bouncing right away. The content just wasn't grabbing them. So it's always better if they write their own, but I thought that something like that blog might be something decent. But if not that, then what? What are people sharing? What are they pushing out there? For me, yeah, try and lead by example. I mean, what I see, and one of the reasons I'm not real big on social sharing, is it becomes a big circular wheel where James writes something and I read that and I share it out to my network, and someone reads that and shares it out to their network, and someone reads it out and shares it back to their network. And the next thing you know, James is reading what he wrote a week later. That's my personal opinion, but.
Many of them don't know where they stand. Many of them don't know whether they're in the state or the worst in the state. And so you've got to give them information.
Yeah, it's interesting, Barbara. When you do write a blog post, it does tend to generate some traffic. And I'm not sure if that's because it's considered new, where your pages might not be new, but it definitely seems to work. It works better, of course, if you have great content, something that's meaningful, something that's valuable to somebody. James has suggested he's done a bunch of video content lately. I do have a question later to talk about YouTube and find out how many people are finding that valuable. So Louise, I'm assuming that means when you're talking to your clients, use LinkedIn and keep it up to date. Yeah. LinkedIn is the one exception for me. I do have a LinkedIn profile. Admittedly, I'm giving it minimal attention these days, but for a while there, I was fairly focused on it.
And a lot of nice work, community meetings, clipboards and all this sort of stuff. What we're saying is hospitals ought to know what their problems are, and they ought to focus on those problems.
So would it be fair to say that LinkedIn and Facebook maybe are the two largest ones, or would you maybe throw YouTube in there as well? So if you were to name the top 3 sites, or the top 3 social sharing platforms in whatever order you feel is appropriate, what would that look like? Good point, James. Depends on the client. And there's kind of 2 aspects to it. There's what are you doing for social sharing with your own stuff, and what are you doing with social sharing for your clients? There's kind of the 2 sides of that.
One of the questions is whether it's an indication of your overall fitness or the fitness of your heart. It's a good question. It's really a combination of both, because the heart rate really reflects both the fitness of the heart and the fitness of the.
So Barbara says Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and then followed by Twitter. James is saying Instagram, Pinterest. Again, depending on the products. In this case, consumer female products.
Started out with about 16,000.
Mary's doing one post a month in a BC blog. So they do one Facebook ad a month on their business Facebook page. Then an email campaign once a month to clients to a page on our website. A special client area. I also have an Instagram account. This combination has really helped their SEO. So that maybe that. Yeah, Louise says different for different types of businesses. But Mary's comment there kind of leads me to my next question, and that's: Are you? What effects in traffic and/or conversions have you seen that you can relate directly to social sharing? So definitely, I believe that it generates traffic, but can anybody equate that to actual conversions or sales for either themselves in their agency or for their clients? Could you say emphatically that we did this and we saw a 20% increase in conversions or something along those lines? And I ask this to give other folks hope. If someone is seeing that emphatically, well, then we all know, it's a fairly big investment to get involved in this stuff, and you have to have a good reason for it. So Penny indicates her daughter uses Instagram and has gained 5 new clients over 6 months, which 1 a month, basically. That's pretty decent. How often do you think she posts, Penny? Is it like every day? Is it once a week? Is it 5 times a day? And every day she's posting something. Usually images related to her business, I'm assuming. Yeah. Barbara asks what kind of business that is, Penny.
Perhaps even more importantly,
if you don't mind sharing that with us.
Somebody over time, is your heart rate actually going up?
So neurofeedback training. That's pretty decent return then. Like a new customer a month in that type of a niche market is pretty respectable.
Our heart rate's going to go up, so it's important that we're testing.
In my opinion.
And not an activity heart rate.
Anybody else seen something they can specifically say we've done this and we've seen this? And we follow, like Penny's daughter found that, and Mary is finding great interest. Certainly helped her SEO. Mary, I'd be interested to know if that increase in SEO or that increase in traffic has resulted in more clients for you.
Population, 10% suggests that we're going to see a lot more disease based on this marker of heart rate. And it's also important to note that this is only a marker. It's not necessarily that the heart rate being high is a problem. It may just be.
So on a purely self-serving question, you can imagine what my answer will be, but are you finding it to be an amplification of your message or a time suck? So I'm talking about social sharing in particular. Do you find it really is an amplification of your messaging, or is it really just a time suck that you're finding it? And Mary answered me, yes, they believe they're getting more clients through the website from all this extra traffic. So take your average value of a client, and that's what her time invested in social sharing is. And from my perspective, Mary, if you can show that in your own agency, it becomes much easier to talk to your end clients about it. You can give them actual results from your own experience. So Barbara's pointing to Facebook, helping to get the message out. They have a local news website, and it's where most of the traffic comes from. So Barbara, you're posting on that news channel, and that's generating traffic back to your site. Is that what you mean? And if so, what kinds of things are you posting out to that news site? Like when you say you share everything, what is everything? Are you running sales? Are you writing content? Are you announcing events? What kind of stuff are you doing? So local news. So anything local news you're posting on there that generates traffic back to your site. Cool. And then I'm assuming at some point in place of closed newspapers. Yeah. Okay. So I have that. So I kind of asked this before, and I won't bother again. So how are you connecting social sharing to your websites? James has shared some of his proprietary code or his custom code. I'm interested to know, are people actually using Add This, Share This? I had something homegrown, that's what James is using. I tried Share This before. I found it fairly frustrating. I like Add This, although it can cause the odd problem, but I like how simple it is to use, really, and certainly for my end clients to manage. So I have them set up an account, give me access. I go get the code, put it on, and then away they go. So Add This, Share This, something homegrown. Maybe the three choices. So Barbara's indicating Add This is easy to use, but it doesn't seem to bring in the image from the site. So I've worked with this a bit, and certainly you have to have your Open Graph tags set up properly, and you have to have the right kinds of images on the page, or Add This all but ignores it. And we'll get into some of the tools later, but I use Facebook Dev Tools to kind of figure that out. Anyone using something other than Add This and Share This for their social sharing, or something proprietary? Is there another tool out there I'm not aware of? I guess I would say I'm sure there's lots of tools out there I'm not aware of. But. As James indicates, there's kind of two directions. You're either pushing traffic out and sharing it, or you're pulling in feeds and basically replaying it, if you will, on the site. So it is kind of two directions. When you're pulling in feeds, James, what effect does that have on your business? Like, are you doing that on your own sites or on your client sites? And does that generate conversions and traffic for you? Yeah, that's a good point. James indicates it keeps an old site fresh without the client having to think about it. And I guess that would certainly generate some interest from the Google side of things. It would see new content. It would see some of that going on. So it might get you indexed more and higher. I can see that. So Jack indicates he's got a social media app that he's used a few times. I don't know what the app is, but and James indicating for the traffic, when he's got these feeds generated, sometimes it winds up with people being subscribing to their stuff. So Facebook likes or Instagram follower. So generating a feed on his sites or his client sites can sometimes result in some kind of a subscriber relationship. Oh, Jack, you mean from the BC App Store? Oh, okay. I'd have to go look and see what that is. Maybe we'll do that later. I'm glad you did find it easier to use, or your clients did at least. And James has kindly provided a nice liquid snippet for getting the meta tags proper. Thank you for that. It can be hard to get right for sure. I'll have a look at it later. I have one that I grab, and there's between mine and yours, maybe we got a solid approach. All right. So yeah, okay. So it may not be the latest, but it's the whole smart defaults thing. So if this content is here, use that. Otherwise, use this, and it gives you a better overall a better set of meta tags for these social sharing sites to grab. So aside from that, then what tools are you using for regular content management or promotion? And by that I mean I used to use Hootsuite when I was managing social sharing for a client, and that allowed me to take the content and schedule the release of it. So we I think we ran it for about a year and a half, where it would regularly release a blog post every week and a training video every week on a different day. And I found that to be not too bad, but I wondered if that's been a few years since I did that. So I wonder, are people still using something like Hootsuite, or are they using, are there other tools available for that? So this is just content management, promotion, scheduling, all that stuff bundled in. How do you push this stuff out? Do you visit each of the sites and copy and paste your post in? Or do you use it in an aggregator and connect your accounts to it and allow it to push it out? No opinions. So I guess the question is, are you using a tool or are you manually visiting each of the channels to push your content out, to share your content? This is if you're pushing your content out as opposed to someone sharing a blog post off your site and stuff. So Barbara's manual, Mary's manual. One day a month, that's what they focus on, is taking care of all that. Mary brings up a good point. On her Facebook page, they make a point of liking and doing posts about their clients. And in return, they get a Facebook like in return. So that's one of the things about social sharing, in my opinion, is you're far better off to, you should post good and valuable content, but you should definitely engage in other people's as well and offer an opinion, offer a different perspective. Of course, be kind, but comment and engage in a conversation with someone, and I think that's where the value lies in it. At least that's where I've seen any level of success in social sharing or in social and having social media result in more traffic and more conversions for you and building you a better reputation. It's been when you've not just push your own stuff, but offer an opinion, offer an opposing point of view or a complementary point of view on someone else's content. So James indicated it earlier that they're using YouTube, but I wondered if how many other folks are using YouTube as a social channel. With everything, people in general don't read anymore, so videos certainly have an attraction from that perspective. But I wondered how many people are using it as an active social channel, and again, are they finding it valuable? Yeah, so Louise uses YouTube as a consumer, not necessarily as a creator. Alexandra indicates she's still using Hootsuite for posting her content, but sometimes Facebook manually, but generally speaking, using Hootsuite. I find myself, who I call myself antisocial, but I do tend to use YouTube for the content that I want to consume. And then often, if it's something I want to know more about, there's often links in the show notes, as it were, where I can dig in deeper if I want to. Of course, I still read magazines, so, and not online. I get them delivered to my house. Yeah, Alexandra is indicating she's big on content curation and mixing their content with other content that relates to her business and good general business articles. Someone's got to keep that print industry running, so perhaps it's just me. I don't know, Louise. Yeah, that's a nicer way of saying what I was trying to get to earlier, Alexander, where it's about engagement, it's about conversations. Yes, you want to push your content out, but you certainly want to engage with other people as well, and overall develop a story. So, has anybody had any challenges that they've found working with social sharing? And how do they work through that? Now, James has indicated he's had troubles with add this, so they developed their own custom script. Has anybody had any other issues? For instance, have they posted content that was flagged as inappropriate, or flagged as copywritten? Has anybody had to work through any of that stuff? Yeah, and Alexandra closes out with conversations are critical to engaging with others on social media, for sure. Can't be just one way. But yeah, has anybody had any large challenges that they've had to work through in the whole social sharing sphere? So Alexandra's had a big problem with getting images from her blog to show up correctly or at all. Yeah, I've certainly seen that. Mary's had trouble embedding Twitter tags on a BC page. Seems impossible to do. So if anybody has any help for Alexandra or Mary on that, it would be kind of you to make a note in the chat or perhaps offer forward an email for discussion. Alexandra, you might find James's shared meta tags helpful for that. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at them yet, but so they were working and now they're not working anymore. So something's changed. Well, that kind of brings us down to the next thought I had. Oh, Mary says blog images work okay with Liquid. There is info in BC help on how to implement it. Yeah. Okay. If you can, Mary, if you can go grab the link for that in the docs and just paste it in the chat, that would be cool. So my next thought was, how do you test your social sharing? So I certainly use Facebook developer tools, and you put the URL in, and it kind of gives you an indication as to what tags it's seeing, what it's not seeing. And I've been able to work through most of my challenges using that tool. Are folks using that or something else? What are you using to test your content to make sure when people are sharing it, it's sharing what you want it to share, not just something randomly off the page? How are you figuring that one out? Okay, Mary. Yeah, if you get to it before the end, great. If not, that's fine. So people aren't testing? You're not testing your social sharing? Interesting. I thought that would generate some conversation. So Alexander's indicated in Hootsuite you do get a preview. Yeah, for sure. So my next thought was, what percentage of your customers are actively involved in social sharing? So type it like a number between, like keep it like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. What percentage of your customers are actively involved in social sharing? To your knowledge, obviously. So 20, 30% from Alexandra, 10%. That's quite good, Alexandra. I was expecting 5 to 10%. So if you're getting 20 and 30 doing it, that's you're doing something really good there. Some more tens. Alexandra, do you have some thoughts on how you're getting that? Is it something you're pushing, or is it just the market that you happen to serve and they're interested in it? Like, do you have an opinion as to what's getting your clients to do social sharing? And if you don't, that's a valid answer. But Mary's indicating most of their clients have at least one social media account. I guess I would ask for maybe some clarification on the level of activity. It's one thing to have an account, and it's another, of course, to be regularly using it. But so Alexandra feels it's more to do with the connections and how social they are. So it sounds like maybe the particular clients you're working with or the particular industries you're working with are more interested in social sharing. Yeah, fair enough, Mary. It's hard to know their level of activity. So, you know, most of your clients have a social media account, but how many are actually using it? It's hard to know. It's hard to know for sure. And particularly unless you're engaging yourself, I mean, that's one of the ways you can get involved more with your clients is to actively participate in their social sharing. But you have to make, that's a pretty significant effort. I don't want to word it as you have to make the effort. It's a very significant effort. So it's more of an investment than an effort thing. So when you're is social sharing a service or a package that you offer for your clients? Do you resell that service? And then if you do you handle it in-house or do you outsource it? So you say, hey, for $500 a month, we'll take care of your social sharing, or for $2,000 a month, we'll write your blog posts and generate your social media activity, or some combination thereof. We'll do posts once a week, you do the other, whatever else you want to do. So what I'm after here is in general, if you don't mind sharing, what are people charging for this? What's it worth? What's the value to your agency? I've seen everything from, I would say when I tell my clients if they want this managed for them, it's between $1,500 and $2,000 a month to find a company that is going to do it well, in my opinion. And I wondered how that relates to what you're seeing in your regions. So it's safe to say that people aren't offering this as a service? Are they just helping their customers if they phone and ask about it? Or does anybody really have this packaged up as here's how you go forward? We get some stuff. Okay. So Mary, it is part of a service that they offer, setting the clients up and training them on social media. Most of her clients are older and don't know how to do it. And she stays away from actually providing content. So Alexandra, they do offer social media, blogging, landing pages, etc. She feels $1,500 to $2,000 might not be achievable in her area. Obviously, it depends on how often you're posting content for them as well. But and when I'm talking that number, I'm talking about where you're actually providing the content and actively doing the sharing and management of those social channels for them. So you're going to Facebook on their behalf, engaging in people on their page and all the rest of that stuff. Now, Mary's indicating most of her clients are small business and could not afford a monthly fee over $300. That's fair enough. That's I tend to say, like, if you either have to do it yourself and do it well, or you have to pay enough for someone else to do it and do it well. To me, anything else is kind of half-assed. So if they can do it themselves, great. They can save a lot of money. But if that's not something they're interested in, but they still want the benefits of it, then it's going to cost a bit of money. That's my opinion anyway. So my next thought was, what type of content are you, or your customer for that matter, sharing? We've talked about blog posts, but are they also sharing events? Are they sharing products, product announcements, maybe new products, sales, those kind of things? Are they sharing just straight page content? Yeah, Jack brings up a good point. If you can show them the return on the investment, I do that in websites all the time. If the website costs $10,000, but it brings you $30,000 of revenue, what do you care that it costs you $10,000? The trick is showing them. So if you can show them that, paying $1,000 for social media sharing is going to return them $2,000 a month in clients, it should be a no-brainer. Now, that said, that you have to have some good experience to make sure you can achieve that. So Alexandra's sharing images, products, events. Good. I'm glad it's not just blog posts. Barbara's products, events, interesting content relating to their business, not necessarily created by them. And Mary's got some of their clients have a connection through Facebook for bookings and product promotions. Thanks for your input, James, and thanks for the sharing of those links. I'll put them in a document that people can download. I appreciate that. Yeah, Alexandra, that's the point. To get social proof, there has to be a process in place to measure activity against leads and sales. So in order to do it well for your clients, you almost have to do it well for yourself so that you have that social proof. You can speak emphatically that like Penny did, at the simplest levels, her daughter's posting on Instagram once a day, and that's generated a new client a month. Well, what's the lifetime value of a client? If that's, I don't know what it is in that industry, but if it's $1,000, that's $1,000 a month she's got just by posting on Instagram once a day. In the quick math. Yeah, Mary's got a hairdresser client who puts up a different haircut each day. That's a great way to post onto social channels and get some interest. So any particular channel you found to be more effective in generating traffic? It's kind of related to what are your favorite channels, but can anybody emphatically say, hey, this is if you're only going to do one, this is the one you should do? Alexandra says, are people aware they can download their LinkedIn connection to a CSV file? And then their LinkedIn connections. So then those contacts can be used for email marketing. Obviously, with the provisions of jurisdiction and all the rest of that stuff. Up in Canada, we couldn't necessarily do that. You'd have to have their permission to be able to email market to them, but it's not the same in other places. Yeah, Google Plus, Mary says, if you can only do one, that's the one, right? Just even though no one uses it, that's because Google loves it. Google loves itself. Is it Facebook? Is it LinkedIn? And obviously it's industry dependent, but what I'm trying to get to, if you only have time to do one or do one well, really as a suggestion, what should people be focusing on? Mary saw a noticeable uptick in SEO. Just trying to bring up a site here on another page. So this is not necessarily a plug. I happen to know this person. I will disclose that. And I happen to have taken her training. Wonderful person. I think she's got some great training. And she also has anything from free right up to they'll manage your account. And it's called Top Dog Social Media. She happens to be out of Kelowna here, around where I live. But she's got some really good courses. She's well known in the industry. She's well known in social media. She has a book on Amazon called The LinkedIn Code. Again, in full disclosure, I actually created the cover for that book and got it loaded onto Amazon for a number of years back. But if you just don't know where to start, you don't know what to do, this is perhaps a starting point for you. And she travels all over the world speaking, so it doesn't matter where you happen to be. So I'll put that in the show notes as well. Maybe I'll just put it here actually. And I would ask if anybody else is aware of something like that, if they could, for the rest of the audience, if they could put that link in the chat, that would be good. So Mary adds that she feels email marketing is connected to all this. What do people think about that? So Mary, how do you feel email marketing relates to social sharing? Do you mean specifically like email marketing as a channel to promote your content? Is that what you mean? Sure. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a difficult amplification in that that people have to just subscribe to your list, so it takes a while to build it. But I think the people that are subscribing and stay connected with you that way, I feel it's a stronger connection than a loose Facebook connection or a Facebook subscription. So as we're winding down here, I did wonder how many of you have tried social media advertising? Jack added, probably should have asked this earlier, but Dave, what do you mean by social sharing? I never heard of that term. So social sharing is when you take content and promote it through a social channel. So often at the bottom of a blog post, there'll be share this on Facebook, share this on LinkedIn. That's one example of social sharing. Or maybe it's on the bottom of a page. Or maybe it's an event announcement. There's some kind of local concert going on, and it's share this on your Facebook page or your Instagram account or whatever. That's what I mean by social sharing. Yeah, Alexander recently got some clients through email marketing. Both of them were connections on LinkedIn. So how many people have tried social media advertising, like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, even AdWords, I guess, for that matter? And if you have tried it, kind of what level of, has it been successful? Has it been difficult? Has it been easy? Has anybody gone through the content that Fraser from Platonic has put together on Facebook targeting, Facebook ads, and all the rest of that stuff? So Alexander's to run a few Facebook ads. She finds it a bit trickier than it would appear, but does like that you can do A/B testing. Yeah, if I think if you're doing Facebook ads, I think it's worth searching out Fraser's Fraser from Platonic's social media information. Barbara's done some Facebook ads, and she finds promoted posts work the best. So when you create a post, there's an offer there to boost that post. Is that what you mean, Barbara? Yeah. One thing I'd heard, which I haven't really chased myself, is that the ability to really dial in the demographic you're after on Facebook is what makes it valuable. You can get it down to 30 to 35-year-old, females from this geographic region with this salary who happen to like green or something along those lines. So Jack says Facebook and Google AdWords has worked for some of his clients, but they are indeed spending $2K a month. Catering event companies, interesting enough, seem to have success in his experience. So something else I wondered is, you've heard of discuss commenting. Do you consider that to be just a commenting tool, or is that also a social sharing tool? Would anybody consider discuss to be a social sharing tool? In that, if you set it up in a certain way, you can link to other content, certainly on your site, but actually other content in the Discuss community that is related to the content you're posting. So some of this backlink stuff. So if I have it set up properly, I can write a blog post with my Discuss commenting on the bottom, and if it's about red Ford trucks in California, and someone else on an entirely different website has also written content with Discuss commenting about red Ford trucks in California, it will tie the two together automagically. Any opinions on that? Yeah, Alexander, it takes a little bit of setup, but you got to go dig in the options and find it. And most people restrict it so it only promotes content on their own site. But you can expand that a bit if you don't mind. And you have to kind of give up a bit of control, because Discuss then is putting together what comment gets posted there. You can always edit it, but you would have to kind of actively manage it, or at least have a look at it every once in a while. So I'm just going to share my screen one last time here. And I just have some general notes here. So if you want to know more, if you go to BC Sandpile to the meetings page, wait for it to load. And down the side here under categories, if you find social media, secure zones, where is it? I can't see it. It was just here. Oh, for the love of Pete. I don't know why I can't see it. I wish I knew someone who could fix that. There it is, social media. You guys are all probably yelling at me, but I can't see it because of my screen. So there's a few here. The one we're just doing today, I think that's the app that is in the App Store, the social media feed that was mentioned earlier. I believe this is a good one. And that's Lena, social media best practices. Integrating social media and business catalyst, cash in on your passion. I always like stuff that Jonathan does. And I think that's all I got on that one. If you go to BC Gurus, tutorials, and you just put in the search term here of social, There's a number of tutorials on it. And again, I'd point to Jonathan here. He's done some really good stuff on social media. There's a 3-part social selling. Starts here, getting started. Social selling part 2, social selling part 3. Some stuff on the ideal client profile and creating the ultimate value proposition. He's got some really good content there. I obviously am biased. And then BC Academy, same thing. And what did I say? You got to search for social here. Yeah, so you go to functionality and click on social media, and there's quite a number of tutorials here. Some 9 tutorials. So that's some options for you. And then of course the snippets that James has shared. Yeah, thanks, Barbara. On the right side, halfway down. When I share my screen, I can no longer see the chat session for some reason. So yeah, so there's some resources out there. I don't know. I would say I'm still not convinced myself. I'm not willing to make what I feel is the investment required to make social sharing work for me. So therefore, as I advise my clients, if you're not prepared to have a plan and to execute the plan, then don't even bother starting. I think starting a social channel and doing nothing is probably worse than not having a social channel, in my opinion. And does anyone else have any other nuggets of information, any words of wisdom they'd like to pass on? All right, well, we're just about to the hour. We're a minute early, so I'm gonna call it. I thank you all for coming and for your participation and input. I will, once I do record the video and get that posted, I'll also make a one-pager with some of the links and such that were added and contributed, and certainly some of the channels there, the Sandpile, the BC Gurus, and the Academy links to give you some more resources there. And we'll see you next week.